So we have seen the war is yet to begin, but the chief hero who is to fight, he is nervous. He has taken a decision that he is not going to fight. And this is where Krishna comes he intervenes because he is asked to intervene. This is again important. Why, like someone once asked Krishna, he said, you were so friendly to Pandavas when Yudhishthira was playing the dice game. Why didn't you intervene and then stop him playing game? You could have intervened and stopped him playing. He said in the case of dice game, Duryodhan was the wise person. He knew that he is ignorant, he doesn't know, he can't play. So he sought the help of his mama, Shakuni. He brought in Shakuni and then played because he didn't know. And Yudhishthira thought he is wise enough. He didn't seek my help, although I was present in Hastinapura. So unless and until one seeks, one calls the divine, he unnecessarily doesn't want to intervene in anyone's affair. The seeking has to be there. Therefore, the divine does demand a surrender, demand this prayer. One has to pray, one has to call. So therefore the mother used to say that ask me. Whatever you want, you ask me. Even the most material thing you want, you ask me. Because by asking, you are feeling my presence. You are keeping me close to your heart. That is what is important, to feel the living presence of the divine and calling him for constant help. So Arjuna sought this help from him. That I don't understand. Though I have taken a decision not to fight, but I don't understand still what is happening with me. So please help me. And this is where Krishna intervenes, and anyone would have expected that when Krishna comes, so he will tell something, because Arjuna has given him a long dialogue explaining Krishna, the pros and cons of having this battle from his standpoint. He has his own view on this, and he has a point also. So any, sensuous person anyone having little sense would expect Krishna to give him good advice, something deep, philosophical, something really would, uplift immediately. But the first words of Krishna is a great, he is, he is, with strong words, he tells Arjuna, Kutastva kashmala midam vishame samupasthitam anarya jushtam asvargyam akirtikaram Arjuna klaibyam masma gamah partha naitat tvai upapadyate kshudram hridaya daurbalyam tyaktu tishtha parantapa. These were the two verses, and these words were enough to arouse Arjuna and bring him back from his inertia and made him stand and then surrender to Krishna, ki yes, now you please save me. What does it mean? What did Krishna say to Arjuna in these two words? So he charging him. He's not explaining him ki Baba, like manja. He's charging him. Ki Kutastva, how is it? I'm strange. You, the hero warrior, and you say like this? You behave like an impotent person. Cleaver, Napunsak, Bhiru, Kapurush, the coward, you behave like that. Doesn't befit you, Arjuna. Kutastva kashmalamidam vishame samupastitam. Like we were discussing about the situation. The situation was intense. Why? Critical. Why? Because it was a vishama sthiti. Vishama. Vishama means there was no samata, no equanimity, no equality. Everyone has lost that equanimity, no harmony. So the situation has become vishama, no samata. So in that intense situation, critical situation where everyone has lost the equanimity, and in this situation, it's a challenge, it's a fight between dharma and adharma, and dharma is at risk, we need to save it. And then you behave this way. Kashmalamidam. This kashmala means killing spirit, impurity. The impurity which kills the spirit. Kashmala. Where from this impurity has entered into you? Kuta? Where from? It has come into you. Tva, to you. Kudastva kashmalamidam vishame samupastitam. And this indeed is anarya justam, not cherished by the noble hero warriors, not by the Aryas. Asvargyam, and it doesn't lead to any light, any clarity, any understanding. Asvargyam, not to heaven. Akirtikaram, and it doesn't give any glory, any fame. Because for a Kshatriya, fame and glory is something great. That is what he seeks. Akirtikaram, Arjuna, and you are the very soul of light, filled in with light, filled in with strength, because your very name is Arjuna. Kudastva kashmalamidam vishame samupastitam anarya justam asvargyam akirtikaram Arjuna klaibyam masmagama. Never entertain this. Don't enter into this state of impotency. Get up. Because you are Parantapa. By hearing the name of yours, the enemies get tormented, tortured. They feel insecure. So you are Parantapa, the torturer of enemies. And now you are behaving in this manner. Klaibyam masma gamah partha naitat tvai upapadyate. It doesn't befit you. It's completely contradicting your nature. Kshudram hridaya durbalyam, and this is a very tiny, very small weakness which has entered into you. Give it up. Uttishtha, and stand up. Get up. Realize your own state, your own nature. So he had to hear this from Krishna. And then immediately he realizes, he gathers himself, and then understands where lies the problem. So he says, Krishna, I don't know. I am completely affected by my narrowness of my consciousness. So it has put me into this darkness where I don't understand what is dharma, what is adharma, what is the duty, what is no duty, or the right duty. So I am completely deluded. Karpanya doshopahata svabhava prachhami tvam dharma sammudha cheta yachreyah syan nishchitam bruhi tanme shishyasteham sadhi mam tvam prapannam. What he says? He says, my entire being is affected by the karpanya dosha. Again, a very key word and most important word in the Gita, which points out to the root cause of all the problems of the humanity. All our problems are the problems of consciousness. So here it is a karpanya dosha. Karpanya dosha means a dosha, a fault or the nature of miser, miserliness. Miserliness, who is a miser? One who doesn't give. Doesn't give means here we see that okay, this person doesn't give, he is a miser. That person doesn't give, he is a miser. Giving means where here we think of some material possession, material wealth. But in a deeper sense, we all are misers because we don't want to give ourselves for the greater purpose. We don't open ourselves to the light, to the higher force, higher consciousness. So there is shrinking, there is hesitation. There is this, holding on to our little self, little ego. So that is what is meant as miserliness. So he said, this miserliness is holding me back from executing my own duty. And I am affected, my entire being is affected by this dosha. So I have become dharma sammudha. Dharma sammudha, I am completely deluded in the matter of dharma. I don't know what to do. I am in darkness. No light, no clarity, no transparency, no understanding. Karpanya doshopahata swabhava. It's a swabhava. My swabhava is affected. So therefore, pruchhami tvam, I ask you, I beg you, I plead you. Pruchhami tvam. Yat shreya syat nishchitam bruhi tanme. He says two things. One thing is shreyas, and another thing he says is nishchita. Shreyas is something, again another key word in the Vedic and Upanishadic and in the context of the Gita. This was again put before Nachiketa by Yama. He says there are two paths, the path of prayers and the path of shreyas. And one has to choose which one wants to follow, prayers or shreyas. What is prayers and what is shreyas? In a deeper sense, prayers is that which is pleasing to the senses. Prayers is that which is pleasing to the senses, the ordinary happiness, the path following, seeking ordinary happiness. That we are happy. I am happy in the world. What is pleasing to the senses? Shreyas is that what is pleasing to the soul. What is pleasing to the soul? Shreyas. What helps? Again in the language of the Gita, if we see, yat pariname amrutopamam. Prayers is pariname vishopamam. It may be initially, give us some happiness. One has to see the result. Ultimately, is it going to be poisonous for me or nectarous for me? That which is pariname vishopamam and brings only poison at the end, but in the beginning it brings all happiness. That is prayers. And that which is shreyas, in the beginning it may not give any happiness. It may be, like walking on the razors or edge. But pariname amrutopamam. But it ends bringing delight, bringing amruta, bringing nectar, ambrosia. That is the path of shreyas. Now Arjuna is seeking that. He says, yat shreya syat. What is shreyas for me? What is good for my soul's progress? Deliver my swabhav from this dosha by which it is affected. And then the other word he says is nishchitam bruhi. This is again a word which Arjuna repeats again and again to Krishna. He says, I am already confused. I am already confused, deluded. Don't add anything to my confusion. So tell me decisively, nishchitam. Tell me decisively this or that. I'll follow your words. But don't further confuse me. I'm already confused. So nishchitam bruhi tanmay. And then how is the higher knowledge revealed, passed on to the others, to the seeker, one who wants to know? One has to offer oneself, empty oneself, and offer oneself to the Guru. He says, Shishyasteham. So I am coming to you, I am prostrating and surrendering myself. Tvam prapannam. Prapanna means I am falling at your feet. I am losing myself to you. As a disciple, as a shishya. Sadhi. Sadhi means you teach me. Teach me. Sadhi mam. Teach me. Yeah, you teach me and tell me decisively what is to be done. Is decisively. Bruhi. Bruhi means speak. Nishchitam is decisively. Prapanna is surrender. Prapanna. Surrender. So tvam prapannam means I have fallen at your feet. I have come to your refuge. I have surrendered myself to you. You only have to save me. Then Krishna comes, the real teaching happens. When Arjuna surrenders himself, his ego, all that he is completely, he is losing himself to the divine. Now the real divine help comes to Arjuna. This is where the Gita begins. Now Krishna doesn't give answer to Arjuna's questions, whatever questions he raised in the first chapter. He is not answering to the questions step by step. He is answering him, he knows where lies the problem. It is a problem with Arjuna's consciousness, the narrowness of consciousness to which he has fallen. He needs to be brought out from that. The real knowledge had to be imparted to him, so then he performs the action with understanding. This is the core teaching of the Gita with regard to the Karma Yoga, that everyone has to perform action, but action with knowledge, with bhakti, with devotion, with a sense of offering. But one has to have this clarity in understanding of the action, purpose of action, and how to perform, when to perform, what to perform. One has to have absolute clarity. Performing the action with right attitude. So now Krishna explains him the various issues. The first issue he takes up in the beginning is the issue of death and birth. What is death? What is birth? Because that is what is occupying Arjuna maximum. He is nervous because of that. So he takes up the concept of death and birth in the beginning. So the chapter 2 is, in the beginning, one has the discussion about death and birth. And most of the discussions which happens here, they are straight taken from Kathopanishad. Even sometimes the same verses which are there. What is Atman? What is body? How it changes? What is soul? What is body? What are the different things related to it? Vasansi jiranani yatha vihaya. So it says, do we have these verses here? Yeah. So the first thing he says, Arjuna, you were so much worried about the death which is occupying you. But remember, this body, anyway it is going to be perished. Don't give too much attachment to the body, to the physical. I think you were too attached to the body. So he says, Antavanta ime deha nityasyukta sharirina anashino aprameyasva tasmad yudhyasva bharata. He says, the body, one word you have is sharirin. Sharirin means, the word sharira comes from the root sound shru. Shru means to perish. Sharira, siriyate. It is shariram. Siriyate. It ruins. It declines. It decays. So it is sharira. So he says it decays. Shru. Siriyate. Shru. Not to r. That Krishna, r. Shru. He says, Antavanta ime deha nityasyokta sharirina. So sharirin is one which has taken the body. The one who has taken the body is nitya, is eternal. But the body is uneternal. So in this, like when we look at ourselves, so Krishna says to Arjuna that look at yourself, there are two elements. There is one eternal element which resides inside the body. He is the Sariri or Dehi. He is eternal. It doesn't change. Sariri or Dehi. One says Dehadhari. Atma. That eternal changeless element which is within the body, contemplate more on that than the body. Body has to be taken care of, but don't attach yourself too much into the body, because know that it has an end. No one can escape it. Either today or tomorrow or next moment or after 100 years. Don't know. But it has an end. You are attaching yourself to that which is uneternal, which has an ending. Shift your attention towards that which is eternal, that which is changeless. Changeless in the change. So anasina, aprameya, and that eternal, that changeless is anasina, has no destruction, no decay. And aprameya, and it is difficult to measure. We don't see it, we don't measure it, we don't hear it. It's difficult, we can't think of it. So therefore, don't worry about so many death will happen, the body will be perished. When death happens, you just see that the bodies are vanished. But they are meant for that. But the soul is never affected. The soul is not affected. The changeless is eternal. So therefore, like you'll have all these verses that the weapons can cleave it, the water cannot drench it. Whatever happens, the pralaya can happen. Nothing happens to the soul because it is the eternal. The unthinkable, the unknowable, the unheard, the unseen. Shift your attention towards that. Think more of that. Be more and more aware of the presence of that eternal in you instead of attaching too much towards what is transient. Then he goes on explaining about the things. He says, Najayate mriyate va kadachin nayam atma nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuya ajo nitya shashvatoyam purano na hanyate hanyamane sarire. It is never killed by the killing of the body. Neither it has birth nor it has death. It was, it is, it will be. So it is there eternally. So don't attach too much importance to what is transient, what is perishable, what is decaying, what is uneternal. Shift your attention and concentrate and be more and more aware of that element which is eternal in you. Vasansi jirnani yatha vihaya navani gruhnati naroparani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnanyanyani sanyate navani dehi. He gives an example that there is a selected verses from the Gita. Got it? So it says, it gives a very day-to-day example. He says, as we keep changing, removing the old clothes or discarding the old clothes and buy new ones and decorate ourselves with a new one, the same way this eternal element in everyone keeps traveling, changing the body. If it is there in this form, it will be there in another form. So don't worry. Sounds very easy, no? And sounds very nice also. But when practically it happens, it's unbearable. So therefore he says, do like this. He explains the whole philosophy of death, birth, and gives importance to what is eternal. Tells that do not have too much importance, do not attach too much importance to what is transient, what is decaying, what is not everlasting. And then gives him the whole knowledge of birth and death and leads him towards the higher knowledge. So in the Gita we find many beautiful concepts explained in a very practical term. Explained very practically with practical examples, and those are the things which one can immediately apply in one's day-to-day life and then live the teachings of the Gita. So he says, look, that you have to be in this world contemplating on the eternal, but manifesting and expressing that eternal in every action of yours. One thing is sure, that you cannot deviate from the action. You cannot refrain from action. You have to be in action. But your whole attention will be on the eternal. And your action must reflect or be an expression of that contemplation on the eternal. This is how you have to live in the world and then continue doing action, and action with the right attitude. What kind of action? Arjuna asks that you were telling me to do action is fine, I understand. But why do you engage me in this ghora karma? Why do you engage me in this ghora karma? Ghore karmani kim mam niyojayasi keshava? He asks. In this terrible action of killing so many people, okay, I can concentrate on my eternal, I can do some action and all this, live in the world. But you are asking me to be engaged in the ghora karma. A point you remembered. Okay. In the 3rd chapter, he says, Arjuna asks, because people say, no, like Krishna never said to Arjuna, he has never said Arjuna to fight. He says, Arjuna asks him, why are you engaging me in this ghora karma of killing people? Ghore karmani kim mam niyojayasi keshava. So here Krishna had to explain him what is action, what is inaction, what is wrong action, what is bad action, what is good action, akarma, vikarma, dushkarma, everything. One has to have the complete knowledge of the karma and then perform. So he says, there is, Arjuna, you are wrong. You are calling it as ghora karma and you don't want to do this ghora karma. But in this world, there is nothing like ghora karma, there is nothing like divya karma. It is not the karma which is divya or ghora. What makes the karma divya or ghora is the attitude. What makes the karma divya karma or ghora karma, it is the attitude, the consciousness, the state of consciousness from which it is performed. That is what is the crux of the karma yoga. Any action, so Krishna says kritsnam karma. Kritsnam karma means all actions. In Gita's language, in Gita's teaching, there is no difference between this karma or that karma. So when someone is doing, sitting in meditation or serving in ashram or serving to a guru in Himalaya, he is the real karma yogi, and the one who is, keeps cleaning the nalas, all the garbage places and dirty places, he is not doing divya karma. That is also divya karma. That also can be divya karma. We get so many examples. A king is sent to a butcher to get the self-realization because he has the self-realization. A self-realized person, still, he is engaged in killing the animals, but he has the self-realization. That was the teaching. Because that is what he has to do. That is his karma, given karma. When Nisargadatta ji Maharaj, I don't know if you know about him, he wrote the book Who Am I? He was running a BD company. Nisargadatta ji Maharaj. He was deep, his introspection and his thirst for knowledge, higher knowledge, so made him decide one day to give up everything and go to the Himalayas and sit near a guru and then get the higher knowledge. Well, he did. He came, he found his guru. He was given this higher knowledge by the guru. He had to go through all the processes. By the power of his tapas, by the grace of his guru, he could get that higher knowledge. And when the guru found that now he is ready, and Nisargadatta ji Maharaj asked, what next? What did the guru say? The guru said, you have to go back and continue your BD company. So he had to go back and continue his business. But from a different perspective. One can do anything in this world. One can do business. One can. In the ashram, there was a thief or a man whose business is to steal all the chappals, all sandals. Well, that's easy to do. लोग बाहर छोड़ के जाते हैं, so they leave it outside and then you just gather and you 10 pairs and he sells it in the market. And he was never caught. He was never caught. And one day he was caught. Then he was taken to the mother and then someone asked the mother, he kept it doing for years and no one is able to catch him. And only today we caught him. The mother said, every time he stole, he kept me in his heart. He kept me in his heart. He called me, prayed me. Mother saved me. I'm doing this. And today he had forgotten. He was to be caught. So, realization can happen to that person also because he has kept God. All those who keep God in hearts are safe. Whatever you do. But a point of, a time comes when there is a certain realization. That is how many people engaged in heinous act, many sinful acts, committing mistakes are transformed one day. And we have so many examples. That is what gives us the hope, that don't look at the, like we say, like every saint has a past. Don't look at the past. Look forward. So Kritsnam karma, any karma can be done from a higher consciousness. But it doesn't mean that, there one has to become free from all kinds of movements of the lower nature. So we may be doing, like there are stories, like someone, goes to the temple and his friend goes to another place, to a liquor shop. And the person who is drinking liquor, he is thinking about his friend, how nice he is. He is always going to temple, how sinful I am, always coming to liquor shop. So when my understanding will rise, he keeps thinking about his friend and the temple and all these things while drinking liquor. And the other friend who goes to the temple, he keeps thinking, what? He is always going and having liquor and all these things. But he may be enjoying he is thinking about him, not what he was to think in the temple. So ultimate realization comes to the person who is drinking liquor. All depends upon the attitude. Then he gives it up. He transcends. He goes beyond that. So we look at the action from a very limited perspective, the limited side of it, and we say that, okay, this is a sinful act and this is not sinful act and this is that, this is that. But from a higher point of view, so therefore, Krishna says, Udasina Vadasina. Again, another beautiful thing to be practiced. As long as we are, like in the situation. So for example, like some riot is happening, something is happening there at the ground level. All those who are a part of that crowd, they don't know who is doing what. But the person standing above, like today we are using the drone camera. So from the top, we know what is what, who is doing what. But if the person, the journalist who is, like taking photos, being in the crowd, he misses many things. But the person who stands above, he has the knowledge. So in the same way, he says that, shift yourself. Don't be in the situation. Go above the situation and look at the situation. Udasina, asina, sitting above. Standing above, looking at it from a higher perspective, from higher. Then there is a solution because you know the totality of it. You are not looking at one dimension or this side or that side, the totality of it. The reference I don't remember, it will be. So Udasina Vadasina. That always try to keep yourself free from all kinds of limitations and narrowness and meanness. Just stand above. Work from a different level, from the vastness of your consciousness, from a higher consciousness, not from the lower consciousness. So Arjuna says, but like sounds nice, good. How to do? Because if I am Udasena vat asina. Asina means sitting, like someone who is sitting above. Udasena vat asina. Sitting like a person who sits above. That's the meaning. Udasana is not literally you take a ladder and then sit somewhere. So, rising above. Not Sanjay, it is said to Arjuna. Who? Why Sanjay is coming here?
Because he was above, just taking another example.
Sanjay, Vidur, they had little knowledge about it. But it is not just the outer situation, but the inner situation also. And that is what is most important. So therefore, like Mother has given a very beautiful exercise for everyone. So when people come to the Mother in a depressed state, frustrated, so Mother said that the root cause of all our frustration and depression is nothing but the narrowness of consciousness. So it, like in that state, so one doesn't feel like to move, go out, talk to people. So they want to confine themselves into one room or one place. Oh, I don't want to talk to anyone. Just leave me alone. Isn't it? This is the situation. Leave me alone. I don't want to talk. So it, like it ruins the person, squeezes into the narrowest level and kills the whole spirit. So Mother says the moment you see this is happening with you, don't confine yourself. Because this is the narrowness. When it enters, it does that. It brings in all frustration, depression and all these things. So she says, go out, go to the terrace, go to an empty place, lie down, look at the vastness of the sky and feel that vastness. And within a moment, you will see that your narrowness will vanish. Your frustration will go, depression will go. Just try to feel that vastness. Feel the vastness, largeness, wideness. Because it is the narrowness which brings all kinds of problems, creates all kinds of problems in us. So this is what Krishna teaches to Arjuna. And Arjuna's, of course, he has, in the beginning he says this is a Karpanya dosha. This is what is Karpanya dosha, the narrowness. So Arjuna keeps asking, like, how? How do I do it? Because if, there is a little aspiration in me to do this, then my mind is becoming more powerful, overpowering me. My senses are very strong, they don't allow me. But Krishna says, oh, didn't you do any sense development program? Mindfulness program? No, I didn't do anything. I didn't know about it. I'm hearing first time from you that the senses can be developed. The mindfulness program can help the mind to grow. So, yeah, Arjuna, you have to do it. Otherwise, how? It doesn't help. And when you do the action, how should be the quality of action? How you should perform? Yata chittendriya kriya. What Gita demands, what Krishna demanded from the Arjuna, from this instrument, this hero warrior, Arjuna, that yata chitta indriya kriya. That your action has to be a regulated action, emerging from the controlled senses and controlled mind. If your senses are not under control, mind is not under control, then it's like, like wild horses. Your senses are compared to the wild horses pulling your chariot. You don't know where they are leading you. They can drive you anywhere they want, then you find in all places. You can't have control over them. So Arjuna says, right, Krishna, now I understand. Because I've seen like when I become little quiet and try to study my mind, I find it's extremely difficult thing. Vayoriva sudushkaram. As one cannot have control over anything in a cyclonic situation, in super cyclone, in tsunami, in earthquake. So the same way the mind operates, one cannot have control over. It's like super cyclone, it's like earthquake, it's like tsunami. So strong, so powerful. Balavat, dridham, hati. He says, how do I control? Now I can realize, yes, it's like that. Right, maybe some mindfulness program will help me. But tell me, how? Is there any program which can help me bringing this? I think it's impossible. So Arjuna places this question that it's impossible, Krishna. Don't ask me to do. Can really anyone have control over senses and mind? Krishna says, no, don't say it is impossible. I do realize the difficulty which lies, but it's not impossible. There is a way. And it's possible. I have done it. I have done it. Krishna says, I have done it. I have complete control over myself. Why can't you do it? There are many who have done it. You can also do it. Arjuna says, yes, I want to do. Now after hearing from you, I feel like now the thirst is intense. I want to do. But what is the way? How do we do? This is again the beauty of the Gita, that it doesn't just, gives you the injunction, but shows the path. Gives the way how to do it. So Arjuna asks, tell me, what is the way, simple way you show me? Nishchitam, again decisively. He says, Arjuna, there are two ways. There are only two ways by which you can do it. These two ways were given much importance in our tradition. You find it in the tradition everywhere. How to do it. Patanjali says this, Krishna says this in the Gita. Abhyasena tu kaunteya, vairagyena cha grihyate. He says the two ways are Abhyasa and Vairagya. Only two ways. And you can do it. Anyone can do it. So Arjuna says, wow, now I understand. Abhyas and Vairagya. So Krishna says, tell me, what do you understand by Abhyas? Arjuna is expected to say, yes, I'll do it in the morning 1 hour, evening 1 hour, or weekly 2 days. And I'll go to this program, that program, and then I'll put a little more effort in doing it regularly. Krishna says, stupid, you have not understood Abhyas. This is not Abhyas at all. Abhyas is not something morning 1 hour, evening 2 hours. Then Arjuna says, then what? This is what I have understood. This is what is the dictionary says. Krishna says, I don't believe in dictionaries, I take you to the root. So what is the root? What is the real meaning of Abhyas? So the real meaning of Abhyas, when you look at the root sense, Abhi means in front, Asa, to place. So something which is placed all the time in front of our consciousness. It is right there all the times. I am fully aware of that purpose. That is the task. All the times. Not even for a single moment that it is not there. It is always there. The most beautiful story that Ramakrishna Paramahansa says about Abhyas. So he says, like there is a pond which is filled in with, many leaves. There is water, but one cannot see it. And there is no direct access to that pond. If anyone wants to see the water from a distance, what is to be done is like you take a stone and throw it into it. Then what happens is the leaves, it disperses and one sees the water. Then here, to this, practical example, Ramakrishna adds something. So he puts this question to his disciples: if you want to see the water all the times, because the moment you stop, you have thrown the stone, it is dispersed, but after some time they all will gather again. Isn't it? So Ramakrishna says that if you want to see the water all the times, keep throwing. The moment you stop, it is going to disperse. Keep throwing. This is Abhyasa. There should not be a moment. Therefore, Krishna says, Arjuna, be careful when you fight. Fight. You can't escape. Fight. And I tell you, fight. But tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyaja. With constant remembrance, keeping me always in front of your consciousness. In your heart, fight. This is Abhyasa. Abhyasa is not, one can organize one's own work. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours. But Abhyasa is something that, this is the task ahead. So, when that happens, so everything that we do, every occasion becomes an opportunity to, do that, have control over mind. Every occasion, every work is an opportunity, great opportunity to bring that change into the mind or bring that control into the mind. Abhyasena tu kaunteya and vairagyena cha grihyate. Abhyasena tu kaunteya. So indeed, kaunteya, O Arjuna, vairagyena cha grihyate. Grihyate is it is gained by abhyas and vairagya. Cha grihyate.
What is gained? What is gained with abhyas and vairagya?
The control is gained. Is gained, is achieved. Okay, grihyate. So, abhi and asa. Asa means to place, like asana. Place it in front of the consciousness. Because this is the task ahead. It has to be done with full awareness, full vigilance. Perfect vigilance. That this is what is my task. That has to be kept always in front of the consciousness.
When you get the word abhyas, what would be the root word that would help us understand that?
What is the root?
The word abhyas.
Abhyasa is keeping it in front always. Abhi means in front. Asa means to place it in front. So there was someone once asked the mother that is it true that when we see the shooting star and whatever we wish it gets fulfilled? So mother said yes. But it doesn't happen to anyone. Why? He said one has to remain in this consciousness, this awareness, because it happens in fraction of moment. By the time you form your aspiration and prayer, it's gone. If you are carrying that prayer and aspiration all the times, you know, even within a fraction of moment, it can happen. So that is the level of awareness. It is expected that everyone should live, those who are aspiring to live a higher life.
There's a very poor English word translation to this: constant visualization.
Constant visualization, vigilance.
Which is not exactly this, but a cousin of this. Constant visualization. You visualize your success or visualize what you want all the time.
Yeah, see what happens here, Abhyasa is like this vigilance, this visualization when it is there, when we ruthlessly look at ourselves. Very strictly. That's why Mother said, be strict with yourself and liberal with others. Be strict with yourself and liberal with others. So one has to be very strict. And then strict and aware to this level, moment to moment. If, like the mind's nature is to flee. So therefore Krishna shows him the way, what is meant by Abhyasa. Like why I interpret this word Abhyasa in this way. Again in the language of the Gita, he says, Yato yato nischarate manas chanchalam asthiram tatastato niyamyeta tatmanyeva avadharayat. He said, be vigilant to this level, be aware to this level, that observe what happens in your mind, where your senses run, wherever your mind goes, bring it back and fix it within yourself. And it happens because mind is constantly engaged in action. So one has to have that constant vigilance where the mind goes. Yato yato nischarati manas chanchal tatastato niyamyetat atmanyeva avadharayat. So this much constant and perfect vigilance is needed, this awareness is needed this is what is meant by Abhyasa. Do it. It's to moment. Not wait for, so with that awareness one has to live. By being connected with one's own innermost being, that divine spark inside. Then the second element is what? Vairagya. Whatever we may be doing, there's no harm in using email, Facebook, or this or that. Someone asked his guru, Swamiji, can I use email? He said, yes, you can use email, but no attachment. Only Dropbox. No attachment. So Vairagya has been given a very negative connotation, or negative side of the meaning. We say that he's Vairagya, means he's virakta, he's disgusted with the world. Vairagya means disgust. He's disgusted with the world. That's the meaning? Yeah. Virakta. Sansara virakta.
But it's not vi and raga.
Viraga.
So raga is not disgust. Viraga is unaffected by raga.
Affected on. Actually, your raga in the root sense is to color. Okay. So you keep yourself free from the colorings. But that is how the word is usually translated. Vairagya means the world disgusting, like the people who have left the world are called Vairagi. They are sansara virakta. Isn't it? This is how the meaning in all the regional languages also it has. I khub virakta korche. Virakta means disgusting. So Vairagya is again a very powerful concept for sadhana. And what is Vairagya is explained in the language of the Gita. How? He says, the beautiful drishtanta, or the example which is given in the Gita, is Padma Patra Mivam Bhasa. Just, like hold in imagination this beautiful image that is given by Krishna. A lotus leaf is born inside the water, lives in the water, but unaffected, untouched by the water. The water just rolls on it, but without water it cannot live. This is what is Vairagya, is not to escape, but to be in the midst of the battle, to be in the battlefield, but to be unaffected by that.
There is something called as detachment.
Usual rough translation is detachment.
No, because this is detached from the world.
Huh.
The example that
Yeah, yes.
so although
Unaffected by the water. Huh? They left, those who left everything, they are wrong. With what? Wrong in the sense, wrong or right, that depends upon with what attitude they left. Like yesterday I told you that story. The sadhu left the sansar, but still too much attached to his kambal and lota. And the man in opulence, he left everything forever without any attachment. So it all depends upon whether you give it up or you be there, but it all depends upon the attitude. With what attitude one has left it. So one of my brother-in-law who has passed away, so he was a very Nastic kind of person. Not negative, but he's a Nastic. He didn't believe in all this. Ashram, temples, spirituality, philosophy. He wanted to enjoy life. So he was famous as a Rasgulla man. Every day, 1 kilo Rasgulla he will eat. Yes. Yes. Every day. Yes. So that's how he died. He died at the age of 52. Huh? With syrup or without syrup? Or so he... without रसगुल्ला ही वोंट लो वो झगड़ा करता था अगर रसगुल्ला नहीं है मार्केट में तो लो हाँ he died at the age of 52 रसगुल्ला खा के yes diabetes kidney eyes everything gone but then he said like we have in our tradition ki like when someone dies so you have to give tulsi at the end. He said no. He said, एक रसगुल्ला ऐसे मेरे मुंह में डाल देना. He said, I'll die with that. And exactly that was done at the last one rasgulla. He said, otherwise my atma will not be satisfied. So he had told me once jokingly. He said, all these ashrams, why it has happened? All mutts and ashrams. By 4 people. Antaru, Kantaru, Tintina, Bonsamaru. He said, these are the 4 people who have built the ashrams and mutts. Antaru means who has, like enough to enjoy. So much of enjoyment is that he is, fed up with the enjoyment. So give up everything, what to do with the wealth, the mutt. Banao, ashram banao. Kantaru, one who doesn't have anything and, too much of poverty and everything. So that is the path you take. So immediately overnight you become rich. And you know how good is this business of Mat Mandir. Then Tintina is all those who are, like very irritating kind of people. Everything irritates them. Every little thing irritates them. So they are irritated with the world. So kya kare? Chalo mat banaye. Ashram banaye. And Vansamaru, he who has lost everyone in the family, now he is left alone. What to do? Ashram banao. So he used to say that. So Vairagya is not just one leaves or gives up everything out of disgust. One can leave. Like Sri Aurobindo left everything. But he was not a Vairagi. He was, he was well connected with the whole world by sitting at one place. There was nothing which was not in his knowledge. What is happening, how he controlled, like if you read his participation in the Second World War, he used to control everything in the Second World War. Napoleon के दिमाग में क्या डाला जाए, Hitler के दिमाग में क्या डाला जाए, everything he was to do from his own. I'm saying that he used to influence people by being at one place. How he controlled the whole politics during that time. A lot of stories one has to read that. By the spiritual power. So, Vairagya is not world disgusting component. It is that Padmapatram Ivambhasa. Getting not affected by anything. See, in our life, day-to-day life, if we see, every little thing irritates us. जो हमारे अनुकूल नहीं है, if it is not conducive to me, oh, I'm getting irritated. Every little things. यहाँ पे पानी नहीं है, बस irritated. यहाँ पे ये नहीं है, irritated. ये नहीं मिला मुझे, irritated. I didn't get this, irritated. Every little thing keeps irritating us. And yet we think about a higher life. We think a happy life, if not higher, happy life. How we become happy with that? Reacting to the situation. So Krishna says, don't react. No reaction. No reaction. But should I remain inactive if I don't react? So that's what happens to many people. They don't react, but they keep burning within. There are many people, outer appearance is good, quiet, don't say anything, don't react. But andar hi andar, there's so much of violence inside. अंदर ही अंदर कितने लोगों को खत्म कर दिए. That inner violence is dangerous. One may not express it, that at least reacting to a situation somehow. There are people react and then forget about it. That's also not good. One should not react. But one should act from a state of equanimity. So that state comes when someone, by Abhyasa and Vairagya, has control over his senses and the mind.
So then, if you say Sri Aurobindo was not a Vairagya, I mean, he was unaffected.
Not Vairagya in that, the ordinary sense. Yes. Vairagya of the higher order, highest order. Not affected. Someone came and asked Sri Aurobindo. It was supposed to be the grandson or son of Gandhi. So, a son of Gandhi. So he said, oh, you were so attached to smoking. Sri Aurobindo used to smoke. Chain smoker. Gandhi's son. Mahatma Gandhi's son. So he said, oh, you were so much attached to smoking. Then he replied back, oh, you were so much attached to non-smoking. The question is not smoking or not smoking. The question is about attachment. But what happens to a yogi when one does the action? Imagine, can anyone give me an example? A chain smoker can give up the smoking just next moment and do not think about it. When Sri Aurobindo came to know that mother is unable to tell other sadhaks not to smoke because I am smoking, so he left in that moment. And after that, nothing happened to him. But it doesn't mean that Sri Aurobindo was doing, Vivekananda was doing, I should do. Ramakrishna, I mean, we have so many beautiful stories about. Someone once gave jalebi, ekdam khasta jalebi. So Ramakrishna didn't allow other disciples to eat it. He said only Naren. And everyone was, is giving so much love for Naren. All jalebi he ate. He said, Naren has the power to digest this jalebi. You don't know from which source it is coming. One jalebi, it will spoil you. He knows how to digest it. He has the power to digest it. Once I told, when I was a child, 7-8 years old, because my grandfather was very strict, he would not allow even, he was very conservative, traditional kind of person. Had a vision, but he had his limitation. So if anyone coming from, outside village, stranger, all these things, so they have to stand very far, not near. So if he, they are not allowed. It doesn't matter whether we are Brahmin, this caste, that caste, no. Anyone else, a stranger outside. So I one day asked him, like, why do you have, Krishna didn't have this. I told him that Krishna didn't have any, he didn't maintain distance like this the way you were. Then he told me that, you have put a very beautiful question to me. But I'll tell you one thing. Krishna was able to lift the Govardhan in one finger. You go and bring a small rock from the river. I need it. 15 किलो का एक पत्थर भी नहीं उठा पाओगे, और you are asking this question. So he said, you can do it, but if you have the power to digest it, manage it, do it. But one has to prepare oneself. So Vairagya and Abhyasa are the two greatest weapons. Weapons to kill. What is the greatest enemy as per the Gita? Kama esha, krodha esha. Kama and krodha are described as the greatest enemies which hampered the soul's progress. The lust, the desire, the unending desires for anything, to possess, and krodha, anger. In fact, all unfulfilled desires lead to anger. When a desire is not fulfilled, it leads to anger. And very beautifully you can see the psychological process which is given in the Gita. Sangat sanjayate kama, kamat krodho vijayate, krodhat bhavati sammoha, sammohat smrti vibhrama, smrti vrantat buddhinasa, buddhinasat pranasyate. How it is given so beautifully. And this is the human nature, human psychology is described in such practical terms. He says, the moment you turn your senses towards its objects and you constantly come in contact, keep contacting, allow your senses to be in touch with the objects, so the sangha, attachment increases. आज जो अच्छा नहीं लग रहा है धीरे धीरे अच्छा लगने लगेगा. The constant contact of the senses with the object. Then you start liking, getting attached either to the object, the person, or whatever. Sangat sanjayate kama. Here kama means a desire to possess. When sangha, attachment, is intense, heightened, then it leads to kama. Kama is not mere desire but desire to possess. Kamat krodho bhi jayate. Because full possession may happen, may not happen. Or if it happens also, then further desire is there. Further desire is there to possess. So it leads to krodha. And they are inseparably connected, kama and krodha. If kama is there, krodha is bound to be there. Krodhat bhavati sammoha. And when the anger comes, one becomes blind. It blinds us. One becomes completely blind. Doesn't see what is right, what is deluded, sammoha. Kama and krodha are inseparable. Wherever kama is there, krodha is bound to be there. The very sense of possessing, like you possess one, then the desire increases to possess more. And krodha is always there. Naturally, if this dissatisfaction with what you have possessed, and then you want to possess more, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't happen, fulfilled or not fulfilled. All these are connected with the kama. And krodha is bound to be there. Whatever you have possessed also, you are not happy with the whole possession from all angles. So then the nature of that object starts irritating you. Oh, I possessed it, but now it is not in my control. Or not as I want it. So krodha is there. Krodhat bhavati sammoha. It deludes, it blinds. Sammohat smrti vibhrama. and one forgets, one loses the memory of who is he. So in the intense krodha, one forgets, one doesn't know. Who is he? How is he behaving? What is happening? Sammohat smrti vibhrama and smrti bhranshat buddhinasa. One loses the hold on intelligence, one intellect, discrimination, viveka buddhi. And once the viveka buddhi is gone, pranashyati. That's the death. Not the physical death, one is gone. The process. So, let this not happen. One has to have fight against one's own kama and krodha. Kama esha, krodha esha. They say that these are the two doors to hell. Always open to the hell. So decide what to do. Someone said, like how this sammoha happens. So he said, I don't understand when two people are angry with each other, even though they are very close, standing very close, why do they shout at loud voice with each other? Someone asked this question. It happens like when angry, that, like even though the person is just here, I can say softly and hear, but we shout, shut up, get lost. So you know what happens in anger. Why? So the Guru explained, like the moment anger comes, it is such a powerful, wrong, negative vibration that it immediately creates a psychological distance. You don't see the person standing in front of you, close to you. There's so much of distance is created at a psychological level. So the person feels that, like if I speak softly, he can't hear. So it creates that distance. Distance that we don't know. This is what is smrti vibhrama. Like we don't know who we are, where we are. The memory of ourselves and the memory of everything is lost. So one has to work on one's own. Yes. A distance is created. So, Abhyasa and Vairagya are the two weapons through which one kills these enemies belonging to the lower nature. Which one? I don't remember exact chapter, but I think chapter 2 it will come. So I am very poor in remembering the references. Yeah. No reference I am very poor in remembering. I remember the words, but which chapter and all these things. Because I know that, like it's just one click, all the references will come. Why to store it? Someone asked Einstein that, you don't know this process, mother. You don't remember this. So he said, why should I remember? I just turn the dictionary, it's there. Anyway, that's not a good example. Huh.
I don't know, it's a strange question, I suppose. If everything is divine, then Krodha is also divine.
Krodha is divine? How?
If everything is divine, then Krodha is part of the same.
But everything is divine, that's true. Even asuras are also divine. All these are divine. But the divine element is hidden by all these forces, by the undivine forces. Because there is always, there is the thing, undivine, definitely, it is a world of duality. In the relative world, if there is divine, there is undivine forces. If there is day, there is night. If there is death, there is birth. So the whole question is to go beyond these dualities, go beyond these, transcending these binaries. Dvandva.
So it's not correct to say everything is divine?
No. Essentially divine, but covered by many impurities, undivine elements. Yes. No. Essentially everything is divine. One can use Krodha as a force as Durvasa used. It's a force. Use it for achieving something good. It is not that karma is, so karma can be a divine karma also. Can be transformed into, given a divine form. So it has a lower aspect of it, it is a higher aspect of it. So the Prakriti therefore, the nature is the lower Prakriti and higher Prakriti. Or low vital and higher vital. So that the lower vital, all the undivine elements, they rule over. So as long as our attachment to the lower vital, we get affected by, or possessed by, trapped by these forces of lower vital. And then we react. So the whole sadhana is to disengage oneself from the trap of the lower nature. That comes again, like as we discussed, by constantly invoking the divine presence and divine help. Should we take a break for some time? Just 5 minutes break and we'll start.